Hi, everybody. I'm quite excited to talk about this book today because it is something that sits quite close to my heart. The main premise around it is kindness and that there's power in kindness. And that's something that I truly resonate with and believe in, but it's not always something that's focused on in self development because other topics often take the spotlight, such as motivation, purpose, passion, inspiration, and that kind of thing. Whereas kindness is often a little bit more fluffy and maybe less goal driven. Whereas Donna Cameron, the author of this book, chose to focus on kindness as something you can use alongside all those other things in achieving your goals and really being happy with yourself along that process, as well as treating other people well during that process. So this book is called A Year of Living Kindly, Choices that will change your life and the world around you. So she really took a year to live by kindness quite dutifully, and that was her inspiration for writing this book. She's an author, speaker, educator, and something that I found quite interesting that she sort of opens up the book with is being kind versus being nice, because she often confused the two. She thought they were the same. But being nice is something very outward, very surface level, whereas kindness is deeper. You are kind because you want to make another person happy, you want to help them, whereas you are nice because you want to appear helpful. You want to appear as if you are trying to make the other person happy. So I just wanted to start with that and kind of allow you to think about it, kind versus nice. Where does that sit in your mind?
A question I thought that we could ask ourselves is kindness hard or difficult? And to be honest, I think it is. I think that's why kindness is often not a default action when especially dealing with people, because we have so many other emotions that are a lot stronger. When we are irritated, kindness is not usually the first way that we choose to respond. When we are impatient, kindness surely takes the back seat. And when we are trying to be motivated and really driven, we might not always put kindness on the same level as that. The author says when we face a choice of how we will respond, we must choose kindness. In this way, don't let your emotions take the wheel. So always take the time to step back, get some perspective, and ask yourself the question, how can I do this kindly? How can I respond kindly? How can I act kindly at this time? I'm not saying that that will be easy, and I'm not saying that that will come naturally at first, but the author says that it is possible, and in the end, you'll be more proud of yourself that you didn't let negative emotions take the wheel and make you respond in a way that you later regretted. And you might even ask yourself, why should I be kind? To put it plainly, the ripples of kindness are endless, and the author establishes this by saying there's no such thing as small kindness. I'm sure you can notice the sensation of receiving a compliment. You feel good, especially if that compliment is actually genuine. It might make you feel happier. And in that sense, you may offer somebody else a compliment, or you may be kind to somebody like a service worker. It starts to extend further and further. Maybe that service worker will go home and be in a really good mood with their children if they have some, and play with their children, and those children might go to school the next day and share the game that they learned. This is just a random example, but you can see how one small act of kindness, I shouldn't say small because the author is saying there's no such thing as small kindness, but one small act of kindness can extend so much further than that one original person. Unfortunately, the opposite can be true. If somebody is really awful to you, you might be in a low mood, you might go to work and be not as friendly with your coworker. That coworker may feel very bad about themselves, go home and maybe be upset with their partner, and so on and so on. So again, ask yourself the question, how can I respond to this in a way that's kind? Because the effects of that truly are endless. And if you're going to stop looking outwardly on why I should be kind, look inwardly on why you should be kind. It makes you healthier. The author did find real hard evidence that being kind makes you healthier, and it actually slows aging because of the neurochemicals that are released when you are kind. It makes you feel good to be kind, and consistently doing that will help you not only feel better mentally, but also physically. Also, being kind helps you increase your relationships with the people around you. And by increase, I mean it helps foster good connection. It helps foster good relationships. And when you have good relationships and good connections around you, you again are happier. You will be more supported in good times and bad. Next, you may be asking yourself the question, how can I be kind? We have already established that it's not always easy to be kind, and for most of us, it's certainly not our habitual response. But the author makes this more simple by saying that there's a stimulus and response process. A stimulus could be somebody hooting at you in traffic to go faster. That's the stimulus. Your response may be to hoot back at them, or to shout at them, or to get angry in the car whilst making your passenger very uncomfortable. And you may think that in between the stimulus being the hooting and your response being the shouting, that there is no space. But the author says, in fact, there is. There is a space between stimulus and response, and it's very difficult to be aware of that state when your emotions are heightened. That's why we respond quickly. But I bring you back to what I said earlier. Always take a bit of time, take a bit of perspective, and remind yourself that you have the choice to make that gap between stimulus and response bigger, so that you can make a better response, a response that you are more proud of. In that space between stimulus and response is our power to actually choose our response, to choose a way of acting that is aligned with our values and our goals. So really take a moment, and you have the power to do that, to decide the way in which you want to react. Not in the way you react when you let your emotions take over, but the way you want to react to be the person that is living out all your values and moving closer towards all your goals. And to make this more practical, I really like this simple statement: always choose kindness. Even if somebody else is not being kind to you, and I think the previous example I used, when a person is hooting at you because you're maybe not going fast enough, they're not acting kindly. So you might think to yourself, why should I act kindly if they aren't? But the author says, always choose kindness. And to help with this understanding is empathy. So the author says, how is your life going when you have been rude in the past? The odds are, if you can take a few moments to think back on a time where maybe you were rude, maybe when you lost your temper, maybe when you said something that was definitely not kind and you quite regret it, take a moment to think back to that. And think about how your life was going when you said or did those things. The odds are things were not going well for you. You were possibly having a bad day. There were possibly extenuating circumstances, be it stress, be it family mishaps, whatever the case may be. The point is, other people don't walk around being rude or nasty because they want to. They are dealing with something that you have no comprehension of. So always think about that. Always think about the fact that somebody who's being unkind to you is not being unkind because they want to be, but probably because there's something happening in their life that you may never ever be able to truly understand. The author shares a quote by Samuel Johnson who says, "Kindness is in our power, even when fondness is not." In other words, you do not have to like another person to be kind to them. And I think although kindness is something that helps other people and makes the world a better place, it also helps you. So at the very least, be kind because of how it makes you feel. A great segue from that is to assume good intent. And a saying that fits in well with this is give the benefit of the doubt. Don't always assume that somebody's out to get you. Don't always assume that they have bad intentions. Assume that they have good intentions. Give them the benefit of the doubt. What do you have to lose by doing that? Extend kindness and don't assume that other people have bad intentions. The author goes on to share a quote by Jose Ortega Gasset who says, "Tell me what you pay attention to and I will tell you who you are." If you pay attention to people who are unkind and you maybe imagine that they have this conspiracy to get you down, to ruin whatever you have going on for you, the odds are is that will manifest in your life because you are paying such attention to it. Whereas if you can pay attention to the goodness in people and give them kindness, even when maybe a past version of you would have said they don't deserve it, you might be surprised as to how you change and how your life changes as a result of that. Something that I am particularly passionate about is kindness towards yourself as well. As much as I am or try to be a selfless person, I really do believe that there's a lot of power and a lot of strength in extending that kindness to yourself as well. And to do this, I think a really powerful, kind tactic for yourself in your mind is to journal. And you may already have a journal process, in which case, stick with that. If you don't, here's a simple one taking 5 minutes for yourself to answer these 3 questions. What surprised me today? What moved or touched me today? And what inspired me today? The reasons why these questions are helpful is because as you get into a routine of answering them, your brain will start to look for the answers to these questions throughout your day. Your brain will look for things that surprise you. Your brain will look for things that move or touch you and inspire you because it knows that those questions need answers, and your brain is always seeking to look for solutions. In the same way that you might have negative thinking patterns of what upset me today, what made me stressed, your brain will also seek to answer those questions. So why not allow it to work for you? Get into the routine of answering these positive questions and see how your thinking patterns shift to answer and solve these positive thoughts and questions in a way that will make you more positive and seek more positivity in your life too. Another helpful concept that the author brought forward that I want to share is the question, what do you want to be remembered by? The author worries that a lot of us are too busy building up a CV or a resume instead of considering what we want our eulogy to be. So just to be very clear, a resume or a CV is when you explain who you are and what skills you have in order to get a job, whereas a eulogy is a speech made at a funeral. As important as resumes and CVs are in life, don't get me wrong, those skills are important. It's important to work and to find success in that arena if you so wish. But being good at Excel and Word and organization are not the things you will be remembered for at the end of your life. So I'm not trying to say that you should be nomadic and only care about eulogy traits, But I do think that there should be a good balance between working hard, having a good CV, but also working on those things that will make you a memorable person. And I don't mean that in the sense of fame, in being rich or being popular in people's minds, but the people that are close to you. How do you want the people who are closest to you to remember you? I hope that that doesn't come across as morbid. I realize that it could, but I do think it is a powerful way of deciding things, deciding what your priorities should be. Then there's this question, do unto others. We often hear the saying, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. But what I may want in certain circumstances may not be what another person wants. A good way to think about this is when you are sick. You can even take a moment to answer this in your own head. When you are sick, what do you want? What is the best route for you to get better? For me, I quite enjoy having somebody talk to me to tell me I'll feel better. I quite enjoy it if somebody maybe gives me a snack I enjoy or that kind of thing. And I enjoy sleeping well when I'm sick, maybe a little bit more than usual, but also getting out and about and not feeling like I need to spend the whole day in bed. That for me is my ideal way to get better. But when you are sick, that might sound terrible. Some people, when they are sick, they just want to be left alone completely. They want to lie in bed for 3 solid days, maybe watch movies. The point being is that we are all not the same. So when we say do unto others as you would have them do unto you, although there's good intention behind that, what you want in certain situations may not be what another person wants. So forcing that onto them may not always be super helpful. In other words, you should rather think of it this way: treat others the way that they want to be treated. So instead of treating others the way you want to be treated, get to know them well enough so that you know what they actually want in that time. And it's a lot easier to figure this out with people that you know well, but I always think that there's room to ask them. For example, if somebody is going through a very difficult time, you might be the kind of person that always seeks advice and always wants to hear a way out of a difficult situation. And so if you followed the saying, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, somebody would share issues with their life and you may give them so much advice that you would love to hear, but that may not be what they want at that time. In fact, they may not want to come to you again because they don't want a solution right now. They just want to be heard. So to avoid that mismatch of expectation, it's always helpful to ask somebody, do you want me to listen? Do you want me to give advice? Or maybe even, do you want me to sit here and rant with you? I think that it's a brave thing to just ask what somebody really wants, and I also think that it's a powerful thing because the person you ask will probably feel very valued in the sense that you appreciate what they need, and also maybe it shows them that they can speak for what they need and they can kind of make that decision on their own. I'd like to leave you with some questions that you can sit with or ask yourself or write down. And the first one, after listening to this and maybe your own experiences, what is your understanding of kindness? What does kindness mean to you? Do you think kindness is important? And lastly, what are ways that you can be more kind? Where are there spaces in your life for more kindness? Thank you so much for watching. I really, really appreciate your time, and please leave any comments or any questions that you might have down below. And also, as I always say, if there's a book that you would like a little summary on in the way that I do it, please do let me know, and I look forward to hearing from you.